Hello everybody, Kuhan Luke's here. Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be going over what, in my opinion, are the best star cards for every hero and villain in Battlefront 2. I definitely have more experience playing as certain heroes compared to others, but I'm gonna go over each one and talk about what I think is the best setup for star cards for both game modes, specifically being trooper game modes like Capital Supremacy and Galactic Assault, and then also Heroes versus Villains game modes. So I will be going over those. So, to start off with the first hero slash villain, we have Boba Fett. I do have a couple mods on, so he doesn't actually look like Boba Fett, he looks like Jango Fett, but this is Boba Fett. So, if we go to him, at the moment, I have Quick Refill, Born to Fly, and Extended Exposure equipped right now. And I think that these are some good star cards to have when you're playing in trooper modes like Capital Supremacy. Mainly because Quick Refill, it's going to allow you to refill your jetpack faster, and then this would also be useful because your abilities will recharge faster, and for the hunt, you'll be able to reveal enemies for a longer duration. And so this is going to be good when you're, running around on the ground and having to look for certain enemies, or look for enemies in general, because there's going to be more of them compared to if you're playing HPV, which is Heroes versus Villains. If you're playing Heroes versus Villains, then I think that you should replace Extended Exposure with, let's see, it's one of these ones. I believe... let's see. Well, Acute Concussion is also quite good because it blinds people for a longer time, which is very good against heroes specifically that you're playing against. Okay, this could be quite good as well. Since heroes have so much health, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to them, and if they're grouped up, then you could easily do more than 500 damage, so this could also be a great choice for you. But that covers Boba Fett. Next, we have Bossk. The current star cards I have equipped are great for heroes versus villains, but I've also been using them for Supremacy and have been having some luck as well. So first I have Trap Arming Speed, which increases the arming speed of traps. Multi-traps gives an extra mine with a larger radius, and then Lingering Dioxis is amazing as well for both game modes. So this is an ideal setup for HVV in my opinion. If you're playing a trooper game mode like Capital Supremacy, then I think that you should replace Trap Arming Speed with Unrelenting Predator. This star card will allow you to increase the duration of your, I believe it's the middle ability, where you take out your grenade launcher and shoot it. Every single time you get a kill with it, it'll extend the duration of it, so that's going to be very useful against many enemies. But that covers Bossk. Next, we have Chewbacca. Bonus health is going to be a must for regardless of what game mode you're playing. Echoing Roar. Echoing Roar is an amazing star card for trooper game modes like Capital Supremacy, because every time you get a kill, it's going to extend the duration of the middle ability. And then finally we have Impervious, which is a damage reduction star card. So essentially, every time you do 200 damage, he'll gain a 2% damage reduction, and that will go all the way up to 34%. That is also a must in Capital Supremacy and those kinds of modes. But if you were in a mode like Heroes vs. Villains, then Multi-Shock is also a great choice, maybe instead of Impervious if you're not expecting to live very long, because you can shock more people. Alright, that covers Chewbacca. So next we have Darth Vader. He is a pretty well, a lot of his star cards are just very good. Currently, I have Furious Resilience, which is just a damage reduction when Focus Rage is active, which is one of his abilities. Bonus Health, and Punishing Grip. I would say that Furious Resilience and Bonus Health are musts, regardless of what mode you're in. Punishing Grip, this I feel like is a bit more tailored for heroes versus villains because there's going to be less people to choke in general. So maybe if you were playing in Trooper game mode, Surrounded by Fear might be a good choice because you'll be attacking more enemies at once, most likely. And this star card will allow you to regain some stamina every time you kill an enemy. 20% to be specific if it's all the way upgraded. However, I also use Punishing Grip in Capital Supremacy and Trooper game modes, and it still works amazingly because you can get a lot of people in a single choke, and if they're only at 150 health, then this will actually one-shot them over time with the star card equipped. You don't even need to damage them, you can just leave them in the choke. So there are a lot of different combinations you can use with Vader. So I'd recommend trying them out. However, these three it's a pretty safe bet regardless of what game you're playing. Next, Emperor Palpatine. Alright. So the first star card I've equipped is Lightning Reach. Simply increases the range of his lightning. I think that's perfect in any game mode that you play. Having that extra reach is going to be pretty essential for keeping your distance and hitting enemies. Show No Mercy. Each extra target hit by Chain Lightning will reduce its cooldown by 0.25 seconds to a maximum, the maximum being 5 seconds. This effect resets when Emperor Palpatine is defeated. So, Show No Mercy, I think that this is a great star card to use in Trooper modes, along with Surge of Lightning, which just allows your Chain Lightning to bounce to more targets. More targets in general. Most likely you're going to be running into those situations in Trooper modes like Galactic Assault and Capital Supremacy, so this is a pretty good setup here. If you're playing in Heroes versus Villains, though, I think that it might be more worth it to switch out Show No Mercy and Surge of Lightning with some other star cards, such as maybe Forked Lightning, or even the Rule of Two, I think would be quite good. In Full Control would also be good as well. You have some options, but overall, these three are the best for Trooper modes. Alright, next. Technically, this is Han Solo. However, I have the Mandalorian mod on for him. But in terms of star cards that I think are good, we've got Airburst, Smuggler's Wits, and Heavily Modified Blaster. Alright, let's go through them. Airburst, the detonate charge will deal bonus damage if detonated before attaching to a surface. That's going to be really useful against villains in particular, so this is a good card for HVV in my opinion. Smuggler's Wits, Han will gain an extra dodge ability charge, but his cooldowns are increased by 2 seconds. That extra dodge is essential in HVV if you want to dodge enemy lightsaber heroes. Because if they're spamming at you over and over again, if you have this star card equipped, technically it is possible to dodge every single hit and you won't take any damage if you have 3 rolls. So that's definitely a must. Then finally, Heavily Modified Blaster. It just simply improves your blaster so that you just build less stamina, or sorry, less overheat when you're shooting it. This is good regardless of what mode you're in, so I'd keep this. Smuggler's Wits, definitely useful in HVV, could also be useful in Trooper modes too. And then Airburst, it's also quite good in any mode that you're playing in. Maybe you would want to replace Smuggler's Wits with Broad Shoulder because you gain a huge stamina reduction, or damage reduction when you're using it, 40%, which is crazy. So you could use that to run away and or get to cover or to attack someone with it. So I think that would also be a great option in trooper modes. Next, we've got Iden Versio. The current star cards that I have equipped are Shocking Weakness, Alternative Methods, and Shock Reach. Alternative methods. Iden Versio's TL50 can use its alternate fire more frequently. That is when you hold down, since I'm on keyboard and mouse, if you hold down right click, she'll shoot that big, like, bluish charge, and it can actually one-shot people with 150 health if it hits right next to you or on you. And so because of that, I think this is quite good for trooper modes, and so I've just equipped it. Shock Reach. The stun droid has an increased area of effect when it shocks enemies. This is good regardless of what mode you're playing. Having that extra area of effect when you're shocking someone is going to be awesome. Finally, Shocking Weakness. Iden Versio Stun Droid also reveals enemies in a 25-meter radius to all allies for a short time. This is definitely better for trooper modes, not so much for HVV. Better card for HVV would probably be Acquiring Targets, I believe. However, I don't actually have the star card equipped unlocked right now because I don't really play as Iden Versio very much. However, in my opinion, those are the best star cards to use. Cooled Blaster would also be a pretty good option regardless of what game mode you're playing, because it's just less overheat buildup. 15%, it's pretty good. It could, over time, it could definitely help you. All right, next. This is Kylo Ren. However, I have a pre-Vizsla mod on. His star card setup is pretty simple. Resilience. Whenever pre-Vizsla, or whenever Kylo Ren is in close proximity of another lightsaber-wielding villain, he receives less damage and deals more damage with his lightsaber strikes. This is amazing for HVV. That is a must. You should always have this on if you're playing HVV. In trooper modes is also a great option. If you stick with other villains, then you're going to be doing a lot more damage, and it's just amazing. Power Reach. Grapple, which is just Kylo Ren's pull, has an increased area of effect, so it's 30% larger. Same thing with, instead of Unrelenting Flames, that should just be his Kylo Ren's freeze ability. Same thing, increased area of effect. You can't really go wrong with these two star cards. It extends the reach of both of your abilities by a lot, and that's always helpful, regardless of what mode you're playing in. So those are two. These three is a pretty safe setup with star cards for regardless of what mode you're playing. Next, technically not Captain Rex. This is Lando Calrissian. However, I do have another mod on. Currently, I have Hot and Cold, which is increased maximum health. This is a must. You should have this on regardless of what game mode you're playing. Next, I have Maximized Efficiency. If Sharp Shot hits 3 or more targets, the recharge time to the next one is reduced. This is definitely better for trooper game modes, because in HVV, you're not going to be facing more than 4 people at once, and if you are, then there's a decent chance that you're going to die anyways and have to respawn. So this isn't very helpful in HVV, but it definitely is in trooper game modes. In fact, if you're playing HVV, I would highly recommend that you replace Maximize Efficiency with Disabler Lifetime. Or actually, no, not that one. It should be... I think it's Quick Shot. If you throw down your Disabler and then detonate within 5 seconds, it shocks someone for an additional period of time. And everyone, or most people, know that the best way to use Lando Calrissian to take out villains is to throw your charge on the ground next to someone, then set it off, and then the villain will be immobilized. And then if you get up close, you can just spam the left trigger with your gun and just hit headshot after headshot. And so having this in HVV and allowing your the villain to be immobilized 30% longer is going to be extremely helpful for you. Alright, last we've got Wide-Eyed. Sharp Shot can target enemies at a longer distance. 40% is crazy. It's almost doubling how far you can target enemies. I think that this is useful regardless of what mode you're playing, so I think that you should always have this equipped. Alright, next we've got Leia Organa. Currently, the star cards I have equipped are High Spirits, Rebel Heart, and Stay Together. So, High Spirit. Leia Organa can regenerate more base health. That's going to be good regardless of what game mode you're playing. Rebel Heart. Leia Organa receives less damage while wielding the E11 Rapid Fire Blaster. Her E11 Blaster is one of the most overpowered abilities in this game, period. That blaster does a ridiculous amount of damage, and you can melt you can melt villains and enemy troopers alike. It's crazy. And so having a 25% damage reduction while it's active is going to be awesome for you, regardless of what mode you're playing, because you should be using that blaster. Alright, Stay Together. If she is within 15 meters of two friendly units, Leia and her close allies will take reduced damage. This, I think, is also quite useful regardless of what mode you're playing. So, friendly units, I'm pretty certain that that means it doesn't need to be another hero. It can just mean two teammates that you're near. And so if you're near two teammates, you just constantly have a 10% damage reduction, which is awesome. If you're playing HVV, hopefully you're staying near your team, and so you'll also have that. And if you are using this star card, and you're using your E11, and you have a 25% damage reduction, added on to a 10% damage reduction, because you're next to your two teammates, you have a 35% damage reduction, and you're using the most OP blaster in the game. I think that's pretty awesome. So I think that this is a pretty safe setup for Leia. Next, Luke Skywalker. He does have a a Darksaber. It's just another mod I installed. But for the star cards, Intensify. This star card is crazy. Every enemy trooper defeated, or 200 damage to villains done, increases Luke Skywalker's lightsaber damage by 2 to a maximum. You can get up to 36 more damage. If you max out Intensify, you will be able to one-shot troops with 150 health, regardless of where you're hitting them from. Because normally, if you hit them in the back, you'll be able to one-shot any trooper with a lightsaber. But with Intensify, if you hit them from the front, it will one-shot them if Intensify is fully maxed out. And the same is for heavies as well. If you have 200 health and you hit them in the back, this will one-shot them. So this star card is awesome regardless of what game mode you're playing. Then I have Rush Immunity equipped. Every time you use your Rush ability, you will get a 15% damage reduction, which lasts for 3 seconds. This is always great because regardless of what game mode you're playing in, you're going to be using your dash a lot. Luke is a very fast character, and he's best used running around and staying mobile. And so having this damage reduction when you use your rush, it's going to be awesome. You're going to have a bit of a damage reduction there. Lastly, I have Jedi Fighter. Luke Skywalker's melee strikes and blaster deflections both drain less stamina. Luke has Luke has some very quick lightsaber swings. And so he's going to be great for parrying and fighting against other lightsaber heroes, and for blocking and going against troops just in general. And so having this stamina drain decrease is going to be great. If you're going up against villains in like a 1v1, like if you're playing Hero Showdown, I can understand Epicenter, because if you're close enough to somebody else and you use Epicenter, even if they're blocking, they will still take damage. And so that could be great to keep somebody's health regen from happening. Like if you've done 200 damage and they're going to start regenerating health soon, you can get close to them, use Epicenter, and then, or well, actually it's called Repulse, I believe, but this card, Epicenter, it'll stop them from regenerating their health, because it'll take a little bit more. So that's also a pretty good option. But in my opinion, I think that Jedi Fighter, Intensify, and Rush Immunity is gonna do you well. These are some very good star cards for Luke overall, regardless of what game mode you're playing. Alright, next we have Darth Maul. The first star card I have equipped is Lightsaber Defense, which is Darth Maul receives less damage from blasters, a 16% damage reduction in particular. Now, this is going to be very good in trooper modes because you're going to be facing a lot of blasters, but maybe not so much if you're facing lightsaber heroes in HVV. However, I'm pretty certain that you do gain, I believe it was a 40% damage reduction when you use your spin attack as well, because some star cards actually have hidden abilities that they don't tell you about. Or maybe they were just bugs in the game and they weren't actually meant to happen, but I'm pretty sure that is confirmed that this star card does give you a 40% damage reduction when using your spin ability. So because of that, this star card's always pretty useful to have. Next is Fool Me Once. The recharge rate is faster for all of Darth Maul's abilities. It's always going to be nice having a faster recharge rate for your abilities, especially when you pair this star card with Low Motion. Darth Maul can do one extra spin attack, but the recharge rate is slightly slower. 10% slower to be specific. Do you see what I'm saying here? 10% here, 10% slower for your spin attack, but Fool Me Once increases your recharge rate by 10%. So these two star cards will kind of cancel each other out, and your spin attacks will be just as fast as they normally would be, but you have the benefit of having one extra. So these two star cards are pretty nicely paired together, and then I think having Lightsaber Defense is just the cherry on top, having that damage reduction against blasters, and also the 40% damage reduction when using your dash or your spin ability. Now, depending on what your playstyle is, using certain star cards like maybe Accelerated Throw would be good in HVV or in 1v1 specifically. Maybe Forceful Thrust as well if you like throwing people far away. I mean, realistically, you can use whatever star card setup you want. This is just the best one that I've used so far. Next, we have Rey. The first one I have is Balance. Rey gains an extra dodge ability, but her stamina drains faster. Rey now, if with this star card, has 3 dodges, which is awesome. So she's going to be another great pick for fighting against other villains because of that extra dodge. And so this star card is quite good in HVV, and it's also quite good in trooper modes as well, in my opinion. Next is Farsight. Insight has increased area of effect. This is essential for using in trooper modes because your teammates can actually see what you see when you use Farsight. Essentially gives Rey wall hacks, and you can see enemies through walls, and it allows your teammates to as well. So being able to see 40% farther, that's almost doubling your range, which is going to be awesome for your team. Lastly, I have Damaging Strike. Rey will deal more damage with a dash strike for each target that is hit. This star card is quite good when you're in a trooper mode, like Capital Supremacy, and you're running into a big group of people. As long as they're not officer boosted with extra health, if they're troopers with like 200 or less health, a lot of them are going to get one shot after you hit the first person. Because this, you're going to do 30 more damage. You're going to be one-shotting 150 health people. So this star card is awesome, and you move super fast when you're using your dash strike. So this is the ideal setup for trooper modes like Capital Supremacy. If you are playing HVV, you could probably replace Farsight with an ability like Deep Mind, because Mind Trick is extremely difficult to fight while being affected by Mind Trick. It essentially inverts all of your controls, and so if you're trying to fight other heroes and having to like parry and fight against other lightsaber heroes, you're under Mind Trick, then it just makes it a lot more difficult. And so increasing the duration of this so that other people are affected longer, it's great for you. And so I think that you could replace Farsight with Deep Mind. You could also easily use Street Fighter as well, having that extra stamina, 15% more stamina. It's going to be good for parrying as well. Alright, next we have Yoda. Gotta be one of my favorite mods that I have installed. I love Lego Yoda. Alright, getting right into it. Jedi Mentor. Yoda receives less overall damage, an 8% damage reduction. This is going to be useful, in my opinion, regardless of what mode you're playing, because regardless of what hits you, you're going to be taking 8% less damage. Enduring Presence. Presence is active for a longer duration. I think that this is a useful one to have in trooper modes, because this is your health ability, and when you activate it, even if you don't take enough damage to take away that bonus health, you'll still be able to have it for an extra amount of time. So if you end up running into somebody 3 seconds later, you'll still have that extra health. Whereas if you didn't have the star card, it would have disappeared, and then you would have taken base damage. Scythes Matters Not. When the bonus health of Presence is depleted, it heals for some of the damage it prevented. The cooldown of Presence is increased by 13 seconds. Okay. So I do have the star card equipped. I use it in trooper modes because I believe that it could be quite nice to have that health regained after using your presence ability. However, this star card could easily be replaced with agility, because having 3 dash attacks is amazing, especially in HVV modes. So for an HVV, I think that you should probably not use Size Matters Not. Agility is a much better card to have. And then opposing the dark side, if you're fighting other enemy heroes, you'll do 16 more damage, so that's also quite useful. So you could replace Enduring Presence with that as well. Alright, next we've got Finn. So the 3 best star cards, I think, regardless of what mode you're playing, is In Charge, Beacon of Hope, and 1 Resistance. Alright, let's get into In Charge. During Undercover Team, Finn will grant a damage reduction of 2% for each trooper defeated, or 100 damage to villains to a maximum. To Finn and all friendlies affected. This bonus stays for the next use of the ability, but resets when Finn is defeated. So this is going to be awesome to use in both HVV and trooper modes, because your team is going to get a big damage reduction over time if you do enough damage or defeat enough people. Next is Beacon of Hope. The radius of Big Deal is increased if 2 allies are affected. Hopefully, if you're playing Finn correctly, you're going to be staying with your team and empowering them and giving them extra health. And so this star card is going to be awesome, because it's going to increase your radius by 40%. You're almost going to double your radius, which is pretty crazy. And if you're sticking by at least 2 people, then this card's going to be in effect. So that's always going to be a must, I think, regardless of what mode you're playing, because in HVB, you should be near your team as well. Lastly, we have 1 Resistance. The recharge time of Big Deal is reduced if it affected at least 3 allies. So, again, if you're using Finn correctly, you should be near your teammates. And in HVV, there are going to be 3 other teammates. And so this star card should be taking effect if you're staying with your team and activating this ability. And so it's going to reduce the recharge time of Big Deal, which is, I believe, the health boost, by 40%. It's almost doubling how fast you're able to use this ability. Almost doubling how often you're able to use it, which is awesome. In trooper modes, same thing. You should be near your team, and if you are, then you're going to be able to use Big Deal twice as often, essentially, which is awesome. So these 3 star cards, I think, should be used in every game mode, in my opinion. Next is Captain Phasma. I don't really play as Captain Phasma very often, but the star cards that I do have equipped are Blaster Inspection, Safety First, and Not Hard Enough. Not Hard Enough, it's pretty good because it gives you a damage reduction while Survivor is active. 50% damage reduction is pretty crazy, so this is a great star card to have regardless of what mode you're playing in. Next is Safety First. Captain Phasma gains more health when using Survivor. When maxed out, you're going to be getting 60 more health, which could save your life depending on the situation. So this is quite good in both Trooper modes and HVV as well, in my opinion. And lastly, Blaster Inspection. Every time she kills an enemy, Captain Phasma and friendly troopers around her gain a permanent 3% decrease to their blaster overheat per bolt to a maximum. This effect resets when Captain Phasma is defeated. So, this is going to be great for her blaster. Essentially, every time she kills an enemy, she's going to be able to use her blaster 3% more before she has to recharge it, or release the heat. And that's going to go up to 36%. And it's awesome because friendly troopers around her also gain that same buff as well. So this is great for trooper modes, and it's quite good in HVV as well if you have other blaster heroes around you. If you're in HVV, though, you could definitely replace Blaster Inspection with... let's see. I believe that it's the more the better, because I believe that when they say rotation speed, I think they mean how often you're able to tase somebody, I believe. Let's see. This could also be quite good. Come closer. If you're able to defeat 3 enemies, then the increased shock radius of 50% is crazy. So Come Closer is also a great option in HVV. Alright, that covers Captain Phasma, though. Let's move on to General Grievous. Alright. So, the best star card setup to use in Trooper modes, by far, in my opinion, is Beating Heart, Line Up Weaklings, and Flesh is Weak. Beating Heart. General Grievous has increased maximum health regeneration, specifically 100 more. General Grievous already had quite strong health regeneration, and increasing it 100 more is amazing. So you're able to take a lot of damage and still come out with a lot of health when you regen. So that's going to be a must-have in Trooper modes. Line Up Weaklings. After one enemy has been hit, General Grievous deals more damage with Claw Rush. This is awesome, because with this star card equipped in Trooper modes, you're going to be able to one-shot troops with 150 class. So you're going to be one-hitting the assaults, the officers, and the snipers as well, the specialists. The heavies will not get one shot, however, it will still do the majority of their health. And this is also great against heroes as well in HVV, because they're just doing that much more damage to them. Lastly, we've got Flesh is Weak. For every 10% health missing, General Grievous gains damage reduction, but his health regeneration speed is halved. So, Flesh is Weak is ridiculously broken. Regardless of what game mode you're playing in, you should have this star card equipped as well. Same thing with Line Up Weaklings. These two, you should have equipped at all times. This star card will essentially allow you... I think in all, I believe I heard that you'll be able to take... I can't quite remember it, but once you're low enough health, you'll be able to survive a lot more. Like, a lot longer in general, because you'll be tanking a lot more damage. I think in all, you'll have, like, closer to 1,000 health in all, once, like, if this star card comes into effect. Like, if somebody were to do, or were to shoot you until you were defeated as Grievous, they would need to do over 1,000 damage, or right around there, because of the star card, when normally they would only have to do 800, so that's at least around a 200 health difference, which is crazy. So, Flesh is Weak needs to be equipped regardless of what game mode you're playing. Same with lineup weaklings. These three are definitely best for trooper modes, Capital Supremacy and Galactic Assault. However, if you're playing heroes versus villains, or if you're playing in Hero Showdown in like a 1v1 against another hero, Cowardly Retreat is awesome, because when you're crawling, you might have a bit of a damage reduction, but I'm pretty certain that you still take almost full damage, if not full damage, when you're crawling. However, if you have Cowardly Retreat on, you'll have a 90% damage reduction. So you can go and crawl into a group of enemy heroes in HVV and not have to worry about losing a bunch of health if they're all spamming at you because of this star card. So I would replace Beating Heart with Cowardly Retreat. I believe that these three, in all lineup weaklings, Cowardly Retreat and Flesh is Weak, is a great combo to have in HVV. Next, we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi. First one, Jedi Resilience. Obi-Wan Kenobi has increased maximum health regeneration. That is going to be awesome to have regardless of what mode you're playing in my opinion. Obi-Wan's health regeneration is broken. It's pretty comparable to Grievous's, so you should have that equipped, especially in trooper modes. Then we've got Quickened Focus. The charge-up rate of all-out push is slightly shorter, so it does reduce it by only half a second. However, that means that you can essentially just tap his push ability and it'll be able to just about one-shot 150 health players. So you'll be able to take out people a lot faster with a star card equipped. And you'll be able to reach out farther to people farther away quicker as well. Finally, we've got Forward. This is a must in trooper game modes, because it allows Defensive Rush to do more damage. This star card allows you to one-shot 150 health troops when you use Defensive Rush, so you should always be using this. If you're in HVV, it might be a good idea to replace Jedi Resilience with, let's see. Yes, Think It Over. Enemies are affected by Restrictive Mind Trick for a longer time. This will allow, like, when you are affected by Restrictive Mind Trick, you can't use any of your abilities. So if you use this against somebody, all they can do is block, and you don't need to worry about them using their abilities on you. And so if you increase the duration of the time that they're affected by almost a minute or a second and a half, that will allow you to do some more damage. So this is also a great option in HVV. Next, we've got Count Dooku. Sith Control, Count Dooku has increased maximum health regeneration. This is a great star card to have, regardless of what game mode that you're in. Got Finesse, Count Dooku uses lightsaber thieves, draining less stamina when blocking and attacking. 35% is a lot. You'll be able to use your lightsaber 35% more before losing all of your stamina. This is great, regardless of what game mode you're playing in. Last, we've got Last Seconds. Lightning Stun has a faster recharge rate. In my opinion, Dooku's Lightning Stun is one of his best abilities in trooper modes because it's able to one-shot troopers that have 150 health, and if you're able to use it 4 seconds faster, over time, you're going to be able to use a lot more of those lightning stuns on people. And so I think that in trooper modes, that this star card is actually quite useful. If you're in HVV, then I think that other star cards, let's see, where is it? If you're in 1v1s, Initiative could be good. I think that Balanced Duelist is also quite good. You might want to replace Last Seconds with it. Balanced Duelist, it reduces the recharge time of Duelist, so you'll be able to use it more often. When you're in HVV modes, I think that, you know, when you're using Duelist, you're doing a lot more damage a lot faster. And so being able to use that more often is going to be great for you. So that's another good option for HVV. Next, we have got Anakin Skywalker. Alright. His setup is pretty simple. In Trooper modes, there are 3 star cards you should be using. Massive Strikes. Anakin Skywalker deals more damage with his lightsaber attacks, but they drain more stamina. So you're able to do 20 more damage with your lightsaber, which means that you can one-shot 150 health troopers from any direction and one-shot heavies from the back, I believe. And so having this in Trooper game modes is awesome. People have told me that, you know, you don't save much time from just hitting them 2 times instead of 1 time with the star card. But I think that in a lot of situations, you're going to be saving yourself precious health by being able to one-tap people. Because all it takes is even less than half a second for somebody to hit you with like a Vanguard or a rocket or something and to instantly do 300 damage, and that could finish you off. And so this star card could save your skin in a lot of situations, and so far it's worked amazingly for me. Next, we've got Attraction. Pretty simple. It allows Pull Dominance to have a greater range. This is kind of similar to Kylo Ren's situation with his star cards. It just increases the range of it, and it's just great to have all around regardless of what mode you're playing in. Lastly, we've got Control the Force. The base radius of Heroic Might is larger. Wait, okay. This is the wrong star card. We definitely want Raw Strength. Heroic Might deals more base damage. That will allow you to do more damage and one-shot troopers that have 150 health. You don't need to charge it up, you just quickly tap it, and then any 150 health trooper around you, they're dead. Nothing they can do about it. I think I had this equipped because I was using it for a different video, and I just forgot to change it. But Raw Strength is definitely what you want. So these 3 are best for Trooper modes. If you're playing HVV, really simple change. You just swap out Massive Strikes with Tenacious, which just gives Anakin 100 more health. Having that extra health in HVV is awesome. And then also having the fact that you're going to be using your lightsaber for lightsaber combat a lot more often and trying to stay alive as long as possible. It's just not a great matchup having Massive Strikes in HVV, because you're going to be in action constantly. Whereas in Trooper game modes, you can retreat to your team because you have a lot of teammates and you can, you know, regen your stamina. Whereas in HVV, it's a smaller map, it's quite fast paced, and you're not going to always have time to recharge your stamina. So I think that Massive Strikes isn't really a great fit for it, especially since it doesn't really do much more damage to villains anyways. And Tenacious is definitely a better pick. Alright, last 2, we've got the droids. Firstly, we've got BB-8. First one, self-repairs. BB-8 has an increased maximum health regeneration. Great. Great regardless of what mode you're playing in. Second, we've got Whirlwind. Both damage and area of effect of Cable Spin are increased. Cable Spin is probably BB-8's most useful ability regardless of what game mode you're playing. And so able to, if you have a greater range for it and increased damage, that's just awesome for you. So you should really have this star card equipped. And lastly, we have Spinner. When hitting multiple enemies with Cable Spin, the next cooldown of the ability is reduced. So the more people you hit, the cooldown is going to be reduced more. I believe that's how it works. And so this is going to be great in Trooper game modes. In HVV, let's see. Honestly, I think that you can keep Spinner. I think that this is a great star card to have regardless of what game mode you're playing in. So these 3, I think you should probably keep. Lastly, the last hero. We've got BB9E. I haven't really played as him very much. But I do think that full reconstruction BB9E has increased maximum health regeneration. This goes up to 100, and like other situations with other heroes, having increased health regeneration is going to be awesome for you regardless of what game mode you're playing, so you should probably have that equipped. Nextly, I believe that Faster is good. If Shock Spin hits multiple targets, its damage will be doubled for the remaining active time. That is amazing for Trooper game modes because you'll do extra damage to multiple targets around you. And then also, I think that Spin Me Round is also quite good as well, because you'll be pushing any enemy that is hit farther away. And so this is quite good in HVV and Trooper modes like Capital Supremacy as well because of it. Because if your team's getting overrun or something and there's a big group of enemies, you want to like disorient them and throw them around, then you could use your Shock Spin and you'll be able to throw them even farther using this star card. However, I haven't played BB9E very often, so if you guys have different opinions for him with the star cards, please let me know in the description. And same thing with any other hero that I've covered, hero and villain. But that should be it. I am not going to be covering any of the starfighters because I'm not that high of a level with any of them, and I don't really play Starfighter Assault very often at all. I think I might have played the Hero Showdown mode for Starfighter Assault with like the ships maybe once. I don't know. Maybe I haven't even played it. I'm not really sure. But regardless, I will not be covering those. But there you go. Those are all of the heroes and villains in Battlefront 2 covered. And I think that those were, in my opinion, roughly the best star card setups that you can have for each of them. If you disagree, though, if you use something else, or if you think that some of these setups that I have should be swapped around, please let me know in the comment section, because I'd love to know more about it. And I think that other people who are watching this video should know as well. There are a lot of new players coming into the game, and I just want to help them out any way I can, because the learning curve can be pretty big, and it can be daunting as well, especially with max-level players running around in games. And so, please let me know in the comment section. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you in some way. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.